This video is brought to you by CKGSB, China's only not-for-profit independent business school.
It's 2004 when we launched our strategy 2015, where we categorically said that ensuring sustainable development is part of our strategic pillar. By saying that, we're actually making chemistry as a solution, as a important sustainable solution provider, and chemistry is an enabler for us and for our customer industry to further promote sustainability. That in each of our SBU, strategic business unit, we promote an eco-efficiency. So when we talk about our product, we're not only talking about our product, we're talking about the product application. And we talk about the product application in comparison to different alternatives. And we want to make sure that what we are promoting as a solution with the product and so on is always viewed as the best economic eco-efficient choice. In fact, we even developed this particular tool within the company to have the third dimension, which is the social dimension. But again, it's much easier to address just the economic and environmental. This particular model was also developed by BASF with third-party, university institution to let's say to clarify and to verify the methodologies. And so we are again one of the early company that putting very much emphasis on not only the product itself, but the whole life cycle of the product and the whole economic and ecological impact of that whole life cycle. And this we call it the eco-efficiency measures. So this is just one of the things that I can highlight. So in each of the strategic business unit, that we always have some minimum, let's say, models. And until now, our company have done comprehensively over 350 eco-efficiency measures of comparisons of different applications, which cover the majority of our product. Now that is one measure. Of course, other things like what we do, we start thinking very much from a total product stewardship kind of concept. So from the design, from the planning, from the R&D, all the way to address not only the production but also the application, and even after the application, is it recyclable? Is it something which you can easily, without compensating the environmental measures for, let's say, for disposal? And this whole thing is very important. So we have come all the way from a product safety measures, which is very much a chemical product where people are addressing the physical and the chemistry properties of the particular article or the substance. From there all the way to a life cycle analysis of the product. So this is where it's very much now back in the whole BASF business decision-making process, and the way we choose and we choose not to is very much based on these very important measures. If I wanted to answer this question directly, I would say 1/3, but it's much more than 1/3. Okay. Now, let me try to explain. BASF spent about 1.5, 1.6 billion euro every year on R&D. About 2/3 of that is very much product development related, and then about 1/3 is more basic research, talking about more long term. Out of this 1/3 that we're talking about more basic research, we have identified 5 growth clusters. These 5 areas where we believe are very important for the future. And they are very much related to the subject of sustainability. But of course, they have the scientific kind of basis. For instance, we put a lot of emphasis on biotechnology. And there we address biotechnology from 2 respects. One is what we call white biotechnology, which is production-driven. For instance, in the future, you may not need a chemical plant to produce a chemical product. It might be an enzyme that regenerates something that gives you a particular product. That is the direction where we call it from a biotechnology application. It goes into industrial biotechnology application. That's one. The second one is, of course, it's related to plant. So it's a green biotechnology, it's plant biotechnology, which is something to do with, a better yield for our crops. Then we work on nanotechnology, which have a vast application for many, many things. I mean, to relate it again to sustainability, for instance, if you have a nanostructure of, let's say, coating. If you do a coating or paint or whatever on any exterior, that it can wash by itself when rainwater comes. So it cleans by itself. Because the structure is such that the dirt will not kind of be contained and the water can easily flow through. And this is one of the examples. Of course, nanotechnology goes through many, many applications. It's a scientific approach. So nanotechnologies. And then we work on energy management. Energy management is something which is not just a product, but how do we manage? As an example, we now talk about construction in houses, which is one of the most, let's say, important outlet for energy, because we want to keep the room, comfortable. In winter, we have to have, warming, and in summer, we have to have air conditions, cooling, and it consumes a lot of energy. But meanwhile, what we do not know is actually the energy goes through the wall to the outside, to the exterior. So if we use more environmental friendly material for constructions with the right and the proper insulation, then we save a lot of energy. So this is the kind of things that we can do. So we are no longer addressing how to, let's say, how to consume energy more efficient, but of course it is related, but we're now more talking about how can we change the system? How can we manage, energy utilization for housing? So this is energy area, energy management. And the 5th one is new materials. New materials, particularly to support a lot of things that we today are talking about for a more sustainable, future. So if you put all these 5 together, so most of this, where we're working on, is very much related to where we see the future market is. And then the other 2/3 are mostly related to some of the existing business that we're working on. And some of the existing business we again, because of our basic research, will drive ourselves into the direction where we're thinking a little bit more, the product is more environmental applicable or having the best eco-efficiency performance. So almost you can say that because of this strategy, which is very much embedded across the company, so our R&D colleagues are very much thinking in this direction, because and our business people also thinking, because we see sustainability is a major challenge, but at the same time, it's a very good opportunity for the future market. So we're now orienting ourselves to hopefully we try to come up with all sorts of solutions to cater for today's issues and problems, but we are also anticipating what the future may be, and anticipating the future very much related to strategy, because we all know that the future is going to be challenging. If you can see all these directions, then obviously we wanted to orient ourselves across the company, whether you are today in production, so you better do it better in terms of clean production, or whether you're in R&D, you're working for the future, or you are also in the business, that it might be that you change your business model. So it is not just the product. So again, if I now come back to the R&D, if I go back to the area where we're talking about the 5 growth clusters, again, you can think of it. Some of them would address product, new product, which is more natural. Some of them will be addressing the production process, so you change different way of doing things. And even some of them are addressing the business model. The business model may be different. And again, if you address what I was saying, there's chemistry in it, there's physics, and there's biologies. It sounds like going back to the basic schools now, right? So it is all the combinations, and it's the cross dimensions of physics, biology, and chemistry, and into product, process, and business model. So that's the kind of things that we are extremely excited with our strategy, because at the end of the day, we are doing business with a purpose. We're doing business with the purpose of ensuring, or with the purpose of driving a sustainable future. I think this is how we see sustainability. I mean, first of all, is a lot of risks, and how can we minimize those risks? But at the same time, we also see that actually these represent the elements of the future market. There are values in each of these challenges. And of course, you cannot, Rome cannot be built in one day, right? So you address what it is today, you anticipate what the future is, and you drive it towards where there is value. And this is a process where it is not just a linear process. This is a process which involves a lot of engagement, involves a lot of understanding, it involves a lot of listening to the society, to the community. What is more important to them? Because at the end of the day, in the future, they are the consumer. They decide. So today they voice out. Tomorrow they will choose. And hopefully they are your customers. This is a challenge of many, let's say, emerging market. As economic development, there are different phases, and people's expectation changes. I think the society now believe, and if we now come back to China, the society believe now that we no longer just want economic growth. We want a more balanced, and as the Chinese government saying, more harmonized kind of development, which is absolutely correct. We support that. So, however, again, this is a process. The general public wanted to be more involved. So we are of the attitude that for this type of matters, we want to be as open as possible. And we know that there were many incidents in China. Some of them are related, some of them are not related to chemical industry, but generally people feel that the chemical industry is not the most welcome. We understand where they're coming from, but we need to, kind of directly address it, communicate, tell them what it is, what we're doing. Now, I cannot be the policeman trying to catch those people who are deliberately, purposely breaking the law. That's where I cannot comment, because it's criminal, right? But where we can comment is, what can the chemical industry do according to world best practices to bring in the most safe environmental productions into China? This is where we are trying to ensure. This is where we wanted to demonstrate to our stakeholder. And you were referring to, for instance, our Chongqing investment and Nanjing investment, all that. Now, there are always reasons that some public may not be in full understanding of what you're doing, and there are other issues sometimes, which is not directly related to us, because China now there are different aspects when it comes into resettlements and many things. That is one thing, and the other thing is when it comes to the safety, that we will try to always bring in the best international standard and to explain to people. When it comes into communication and dialogue, for the Chongqing project, which is kind of controversial in the internet, people discuss about it, but we understand that. So we also, share as much as information. We have a specific website that addresses some of the concerns and issues. And in addition to that, what we have done is we establish a community advisory panel in Chongqing. Openly, we recruit people from the public, and then with a panel, with third party and other government and non-government, we selected some 20-some people who represent across the profile of the population. Some of them may be, let's say, highly educated professor or whatnot. Others may be a farmer, housewife, different age, and across the board. These people we bring in, and we say, well, you are the representative of the public, and let us tell you what we're doing. And we, of course, we cannot talk to everyone, but also we talk to the media, of course, and then we want them to challenge us. We want them to tell us, maybe we overlooked this and we did not address. So we have regular meeting with them, and we brief them as we go along with our project process, and I think this is a very good process. It might be that this will be the way the industry have to go in the future, that there will be more engagement of the public. We are all learning as we are all transforming, because in the old day, that it is very important to fulfill the government processes. Today, that doesn't guarantee 100% the success of the project. Today, there is also more engagement of the community, and I think we have yet to find the most smart way to try to communicate. And I say this is communicate, not propaganda. This is really open, honest communicate, and it have to be a basis. It cannot be just we sit down and have a coffee and chat. That's open communication. So for that matter, BASF in China, in Greater China, we are already now 4 years since 2008. We publish a integrated economic, environmental or ecological and social engagement report every year about what we're doing in China. And we want to use this report as a basis for communication, because you cannot communicate if your counterpart do not even know what you're doing. So we wanted to use it as a basis for communication, and it proved to be very, very successful. Now today, people call it either a corporate social responsibility report or a sustainability report, but very important is an integral report, because we cannot do, as a business, we cannot do all the business engagement, the social engagement and the environmental protection without business. So it has to be an integral approach. And economic development is very important to drive a better environmental protection and social development. So we developed this integral report, and we tell people a lot of things. We're probably one company in China that is giving so much information, quantifiable information. Particularly, I'm very proud, in this report we have 7 quantifiable indicators, and we keep to it. And every time when we report this indicator, we talk about all the periods, historical, at least 5 years. We have more data, but we don't want to crowd people. All the previous 5 years. These 7 indicators, including greenhouse gas emission, both absolute and unit. We talk about how much energy we require, how much we generate energy, from where it generates energy, and how much is required, total as well as unit of our production. And we talk about how much water we use, again total and unit. And in addition, we talk about our emission, which is very sensitive. We talk about how much how much, let's say, organic compounds that we discharge through water. So all the things generally called the COD and different types of chemicals which might be, in terms of small quantity being discharged. We talk about all that and the breakdown. We talk about what we discharge into air, what kind of constitution, and how much, and total quantity and unit. We talk about solid waste, how we reduce it, how much we can regenerate, and the last one, the seventh one, very important. We talk about a very, very comprehensive safety indicator. This safety indication is the number of injury incidents that preempt your employee working. We call it LTI. And this is counted on the basis of 1 million work hour. So a lot of these informations that require not just the time you do your report, you try to cook them up. It have to be integrated into your business management. It have to be the information, the data collections have to be natural and correct and accurate, and it have to be in the system. So these 7 indicators we already now reported to the public for 4 years.